Shalom. All praise, honor, and glory going to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakodash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Salutation to all you arguments out there pushing this truth with all honesty and sincerity by way of the highways and byways, going on the streets teaching and preaching. This is your brother Nayap, and I'm back with another news update. Again, this is for fair use, and educational purposes only. Again, this is for fair use, and educational purposes only. Without further ado, we gonna get into it. I don't have no videos that wasn't able to slip through the cracks, so here we go.
More than 70 people across 7 different states have been sickened due to a salmonella outbreak. This one is linked to eggs, and now there is a major recall. On Friday, the August Egg Company recalled 1.7 million dozen brown cage-free and brown certified organic eggs. They were sold in grocery stores in western and midwestern states between February and May under multiple brand names. You can find a list of the brands and plant number codes associated with the outbreak on the FDA and the CDC websites.
I'm excited for the parade. I think it's an amazing opportunity for the American public to meet its army. We have a rich story. We have a rich tradition of history and culture in the Army where 250 years, your U.S. Army soldiers have been on the battlefield since the Revolutionary War, World War I, World War II, Global War on Terror. So this is a great chance to meet soldiers, talk to soldiers, and what the jobs that they do.
So what's the importance of these vehicles being showcased?
Yeah. So these vehicles, so for me, 3 Armor Corps, the Abrams main battle tank, the Bradley fighting vehicle, the Paladin, and the Stryker. The 3rd Armor Corps, Fort Cavazos, is on 5 installations. We have 90,000 soldiers. We are 48% of the Army's combat power. So if you need the U.S. Army to go somewhere and kick butt and to destroy their tanks, you want the 3rd Armor Corps of Fort Cavazos. That's 48% combat power of tanks, Bradleys, Paladins, long-range artillery. That has a big punch. That makes us lethal. But the soldiers with this equipment, that's true lethality. That's what makes us amazing warfighters.
Civil warrant in hand, ICE and its federal partners executed the largest workplace enforcement operation in Nebraska. Roughly 100 individuals who ICE claims are here illegally were removed from their workplace. Many scattered when officials arrived. Some were hiding in freezers that hit sub-zero temperatures. EMTs were on hand and checked nearly every individual out to ensure that they were okay. One man hid in a wall compartment and refused to come out even with a canine on hand. Officers say that man pulled box cutters on agents. The district attorney tells us that he will be charged with assault on a federal officer. The owner of this company says that he used E-Verify. The many working for him were pulling the wool over his eyes by using the identities of U.S. citizens. Gary Rohr tells us that he essentially has to rehire his entire workforce, and he's worried about the business suffering.
You're a former Marine. How would you and your fellow troops in the day, how would you feel if you had to be deployed to a Los Angeles area, any big city in this country, to sort of quell unrest?
I mean, I know the Marines that are there, that are deployed, they want to do their duty, they want to do right, and they want to defend the Constitution. But I think we all recognize, every veteran I've talked to recognizes that this could end horrifically. The Marines from 2-7, who are the Marine unit that's been sent there, they're an infantry unit, which means they're trained to close with and destroy the enemy. They've been training to do this for many months, and the training that they've just had on how to deal with civilians, maybe they've gotten in the past 24 to 48 hours, if that.
You hear National Guard being sent in by the president. When you hear about Marines, active duty Marines being called up to a civil disobedience, to protest, to demonstrations in the streets, what does that trigger for you in your mind as a general?
It triggers a couple things, Willie, and it's a great question because we keep using the word, and the word that's being headlined is deployment of troops. They're deploying troops, whether it's the Guard or the Marines to Los Angeles. Is that a legal thing to do, that the president can do that? Yes, it is. The president can deploy soldiers or Marines anywhere. The fact that we have to look at is, what is the mission set? What are they attempting to do? And you hit this very well in your conversation just now. What's their job? The National Guard's job, unless it's under the Insurrection Act, is to provide support for civilian authorities. In fact, that's the mission set, which means they guard buildings. That's okay. Why the White House has deployed Marines, I can only venture to say it's because they want to use the intimidation factor of Marines being there. But Marines can't do anything more than provide support to civilian authorities either. And truthfully, Marines don't train in that mission set. So that's very dangerous. When you pull Marines into that area, as you saw, there's a couple of pictures of Marines training with the shields and the batons. That's likely the first time they've ever touched those kinds of equipment. When you put them up against local citizens, civilians within the Los Angeles area, they're going to be anxious. Let's use that word as opposed to scared. They're facing their fellow citizens, and they haven't been trained in the right way that police use to disperse crowds or push crowds around. They can do the stop and drag, as they call it, with batons and shields, but that really doesn't have an effect. Guarding buildings, fine, that's a legal order. But it's truthfully, the tipping point is going to be if the president calls an insurrection act, which is defined as trying to overthrow the government. We haven't seen any indicators of that yet. That's when it's going to become dangerous. He can deploy troops to support civilian authorities, but they don't arrest, they don't touch, they don't handle people. Secretary Hegseth put out a tweet yesterday that said something to the effect of, we're now deploying Marines and they're going to round up these criminals. I'm telling you, if that happens, that's an illegal act.
Meanwhile, Israeli forces have launched strikes against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen this morning. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer brings us the latest on this from Jerusalem. Good morning, Elizabeth. Tell us about these Israeli strikes.
Good morning, Errol. The Israeli Navy fired a couple of missiles at port facilities in the city of Hudaydah, which is on the Red Sea coast of Yemen. It's really a warning to them. They say that those port facilities are used for weapons smuggling, but they're really telling the Yemenis, cut it out, or the Houthis, cut it out, stop firing missiles toward Israel. And I can tell you, in the last couple of days, there have been 2 warnings of a missile on the way. They dropped into the sea harmlessly, but Israel has been targeted roughly once every 2 days over the last few weeks. So the threat is real.
Liz, turning to the situation in Gaza, a number of people reportedly killed this morning near an aid distribution site. What more can you tell us about that and ongoing efforts to help people there?
There's a lot of fog of war surrounding these incidents. It does appear that 30 people were killed, or more than 30 people, at one site in the middle of the Strip near a Gaza Humanitarian Foundation aid distribution site, and another 4 in the south of the Gaza Strip, another distribution point. It's hard to know what really happened. The Israeli military says that they fired warning shots to distance people they called suspects because they were getting too close and the troops felt threatened. What happens really is these crowds gather sometimes in the half light because they come overnight wanting to be first in line for aid and take a wrong turn, get too close to troops. This is a heavily militarized zone where the risk of being shot is pretty high. And so it is very difficult to secure and keep safe when you've got so many thousands of people so desperate to get food.
Yeah, the desperation there continues. Elizabeth Palmer with the latest for us from Jerusalem. Thank you, Liz. Meanwhile, Israeli forces have launched strikes against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen this morning. CBS News senior foreign correspondent Elizabeth Palmer brings us the latest on this from Jerusalem. Good morning, Elizabeth. Tell us about these Israeli strikes.
Good morning, Errol. The Israeli Navy fired a couple of missiles at port facilities in the city of Hudaydah, which is on the Red Sea coast of Yemen. It's really a warning to them. They say that those port facilities are used for weapons smuggling, but they're really telling the Yemenis, cut it out, or the Houthis, cut it out, stop.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, dude, the whole parking garage is burning down.
You won't hear me telling you my dream about the smoke all in Nashville?
Wow. Oh my.
We're going to flood the zone. And basically what he's doing right now, we're going to continue to flood the zones. We're going to be there tonight. We're going to be there tomorrow. We're going to be there every day in the next 4 years, arresting public safety threat illegal aliens. We're not going to apologize for doing it.
Welcome back. President Trump says anyone who protests at the military parade in Washington on Saturday will be met with very heavy force. He said that speaking to reporters in the Oval Office yesterday, issuing this warning.
We're going to be celebrating big on Saturday. We're going to have a lot of, and if there's any protest that wants to come out, they will be met with very big force. By the way, for those people that want to protest, they're going to be met with very big force. And I haven't even heard about a protest, but, you know, this is people that hate our country, but they will be met with very heavy force.
So it's a feature, not a bug. Saturday's parade estimated to cost around $45 million, marking both the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army, but also Trump's 79th birthday. Joining us now, Democratic Congressman Jake Auchincloss of Massachusetts. Congressman, there's a lot of parallels that you're seeing between your experience having been in the Marines, serving at 29 Palms, training there. That's exactly what Marines on the ground in California. If Israel wants to go to war with Iran, they should do it themselves without our military support, and that includes taxpayer dollars. Go do it on your own. Go ahead and enlist, baby girl. Go do your thing. But leave America out of it. Our men and women in our armed forces shouldn't die on behalf of your country, period.
Okay.
That's all.
Ukraine says at least 3 people are dead and 64 injured after Russian airstrikes in Kharkiv today. The mayor says more than 100 residential buildings are damaged, calling the destruction enormous. Now President Zelensky says he has evidence Russian-Iranian drone technology is now being used in North Korea. ABC News foreign correspondent Maggie Rulli is tracking that story from London for us. Maggie, what's the latest on the fighting?
Hey, Diane. Yeah, well, this is just the most recent escalation. This time, Russia targeting cities in eastern and southern Ukraine. They hit the city of Kharkiv in northeast Ukraine particularly hard. President Zelensky saying that at least 3 people were killed. And among those 64 injured, Diane, 9 of them were children. Now, the aerial assault started in the middle of the night, lasting through the early hours of the morning. The Ukrainian Air Force saying that Russia launched 85 drones. Diane, this is just, again, the latest. And what we've seen is a wave of deadly attacks from Russia in the past week. They launched around 500 drones Sunday night into Monday morning, another 315 Monday night into Tuesday morning. Now, just this morning, President Zelensky again calling for increased pressure on Moscow, saying in a social media post, without this, they will not engage in genuine diplomacy, and this depends primarily on the United States and other world leaders. Now, these attacks that we've been seeing all come, Diane, despite both sides, Ukraine and Russia, participating in peace talks in Istanbul, also ongoing prisoner exchanges. But so far, Diane, there has been no ceasefire agreement.
And Maggie, President Zelensky is now alleging new cooperation between Russia and North Korea. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, well, in a post on Telegram, President Zelensky claims that Russia has been using ballistic missiles from North Korea, and he says that Ukraine now has a new evidence that Russia and Iranian drone technology has spread into North Korea. Now, Dan, we have to say that ABC News has not had any visual confirmation of this new technology, but President Zelensky has been quite outspoken. In that post, he says it's, quote, dangerous for both Europe and for the East and Southeast Asia, warning the longer that these two countries continue at war, the greater threat this technology could potentially become. Diane?
Maggie, really, thank you. Ukraine says at least 3 people.
Large crowd quickly gathered to protest what they thought was an enforcement on undocumented immigrants. Now, a woman who was arrested protesting that day is shedding new light on what agents were really looking for. 27-year-old Isabel Lopez has been indicted on 4 counts, including obstructing, impeding, resisting, and assaulting officers. Authorities say that Lopez punched an FBI agent in the head, kicked and shoved other federal agents, and even threw a softball at the back of a Hennepin County deputy. And what Lopez and others thought was an ICE raid was actually part of a criminal investigation, one that yielded 900 pounds of methamphetamine. Multiple federal agencies executed search warrants at a number of locations. They are all connected to an investigation into drug trafficking, human trafficking, and money laundering. Officials say they recovered 900 pounds of meth from a Burnsville storage shed worth $22 to $25 million. Agents also seized gold-plated guns and portraits of Al Pacino's character from the movie Scarface. Lopez made an initial appearance in U.S. District Court. Remember, these are federal charges, and authorities say she will remain in custody pending a detention hearing.
What the hell in the Chernobyl is going on in Ohio, y'all? Over 5,000 gallons of toxic nitric acid just spilled at the Austin powder plant in Zaleski, Ohio, y'all. And they're telling everybody to evacuate, get up out of there. So if you're around that spot, if you're in 30 miles of that area, they telling you gotta get the hell up out of there. I'm hearing right now, they're already bringing the hazmat people. They are bringing Red Cross. They are bringing hella emergency people on the scene right now. They said this leak is so dangerous that the FAA is locking down a 30-mile radius no-fly zone up to 20,000 feet. Now, what I'm trying to figure out is, how the hell did this happen? Somebody explain to me. At this point, y'all, this is not no little spill. This is a catastrophe, if you ask me. Look at that shit. Somebody let me know, is this another East Palestine situation? I need y'all thoughts down below on this. Let me know. What